Welcome back. It's me, Lou, and for today's toy unboxing and review, we have the Masters of the Universe Origins Ram Man, the heroic human battering ram. Did I say that right? The heroic human battering ram. All right. So this guy is spring-loaded, a body that blasts back, and modern posing with retro play. And it's a deluxe figure set. So this one was the figure that I wanted the most of the recent Masters of the Universe Origins waves. Ram Man, he's cool because he's a completely unique sculpt from the other figures. And when I saw this figure online in photos, I'm like, I want that. And I know he's going to be difficult to find. And he was. I had to resort to Amazon as soon as he popped up. So let's take a look at this package. So this is carded, but there's something weird about these. It's like a larger size card. Normally the Masters cards normally cut right about here, but since this guy comes with a lot of extra accessories, they kind of extended the card so it's a lot larger. And when I see these larger cards, for some reason I always think of this like weird knockoff toys or like generic toys you might find like at Walgreens or something, but it's not. I mean, this is a very premium figure for the Masters line because first, it's like I said, this guy's a completely unique sculpt and he comes with like a buttload of accessories. But these larger cards, they just kind of throw me off. And I think one thing that throws me off too is that he actually has like character artwork here in the corner. I don't know. It looks cool though. Don't get me wrong. And then we look on the back, and this could be teasing things to come down the road. I'm sure we'll eventually get fake horror and all this other jazz they always tease us with in the paintings. So it says here, the powerhouse Ram Man uses his head in battle, bowling down enemies and destroying weapons. Modernizing and celebrating the original 80s Masters of the Universe action figures, Masters of the Universe Origins gives you the power to pose Eternia's greatest warriors as retro-style figures or in new action-packed battle positions. And here we have his play feature. You push him down to lock into launch position. You push it again to spring into action, and you could twist them into powerful battle positions. Which is weird because they have that like on almost every figure, and there's usually like those graphic arrows pointed in showing what twists and what turns, but here he's just kind of bare. And then here's this the rest of the figures in this wave. There's Battle Armor He-Man. I got that. Clamp Champ. Haven't seen him yet. To be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to get him. Ram Man and Battle Armor Skeletor. I haven't seen him either. I have a problem with them releasing Clamp Champ so early in the line. I think I was looking this up online. He came out in the Masters line, I think like in '87. And between the initial release of the figures in what was it, like 82 or 83 and 87, there were a lot more important characters besides Clamp Champ, but for some reason they put him out before some of the other guys like Buzz Off and like Fake Horror and stuff. So that just kind of bothers me. I think they should have kind of released a little bit more. Not necessarily in the exact chronological order they released the figures in the 80s, but kind of stay within that realm. Because they're kind of tapping way past certain, figures, and I don't know. I don't want to get into it. Okay. Right, so here we have Ram Man, and let's take him out. And just like all the other figures we've gotten so far, we have the comic book. Here we have the parts guide, which tells you what parts you can swap and remove. So this dude, you can take off his head and his arms. Here's Ram Man himself. And his accessories are still in the still on the blister. We have his head. 2 axes. Extra hand. This other axe, it doesn't want to seem to come out. All right, there we go. Okay, let's take you out of your prison in here. All right, let's get this out of the way. Take a quick look at the comic book. All right, Masters of the Universe. Excuse me. I'm like feeling under the weather today. I like woke up with like a head cold. It normally passes like, I don't know, by the time like the afternoon comes, but I'm just feeling all stuffy right now. All right. So this comic, Battle Armor Reborn. So this comic book is specifically towards this wave. I mean, they're always specific to their waves, but this wave consists of the Battle Armor versions of He-Man and Skeletor. And looking through the comics, we also got King Randor, we got the Queen, Clamp Champ, some Eternian guards. Now I always wonder if this is kind of a tease or if this is something they eventually plan to do. Like, will we get these characters down the road? I mean, the hardcore fans can be hopeful. I mean, I hope we do. I think that's one way of extending longevity of the toy line. We have the robots. Yeah, so the comics they're a fun thing. I think they're really cool to have. It's nice that they include them. Right, looking at the comic book now, I think I kind of want Clamp Champ now. I know I didn't want him like 5 minutes ago, but it's like I'm looking at the comic book. I'm like, I think I kind of need him. Yeah, we'll see. All right, here's Ram Man. Now, first impressions. First impressions is that he's cool. I'm really excited to have this figure. It's nice that he's really true to the original design. Like, I think if he stood like 10 feet away with the old figure, I mean, you could kind of tell this is the newer one, but it's not that it's one for one, but the artist is so good about keeping this true to the character. It looks like mine has a little, like, I don't know if it's like, he's like a little bit of paint, silver paint dribble in his elbow joint. Now, my first impressions, alright, so, plastic-wise, his hands made of a, or his arms are they kind of feel like that rubbery, it's not like a bendable plastic, but it's definitely, like his body here, this is a hard, tougher plastic. I don't want to say brittle, but you tap it, it gets a nice, you know, it feels hard. It's tough plastic. Same with his legs. But then his arms, they kind of feel like that dense, thick. It's not, I mean, it's not completely rubbery, but like rubbery kind of plastic. And this bothers me is, I wish I had some water. So this bothers me is that his armor up here, it's made of that really, it's like a rubber plastic, but it's very, very rubbery. All right, I don't know. Like, actually, just give me a minute. I'll be back. I need to get some water in me. In the meantime, here you can take a look at Captain America and like Ram Man, and they just look at each other. And you can also look at my custom RoboCop brickhead. I'll be back like in a minute. All right, I'm back. I know I don't have the most professional YouTube videos. It's not like very often the dudes just take off and leave, but you did get a chance to look at Captain America and my custom RoboCop guy. All right, so coming back to Ram Man, yeah. So his armor up here, it's made of this softer, weirder, rubbery plastic. And I say this all the time in my videos. I don't like the softer plastics like this because I think most of the time these things degrade the fastest. They either degrade the fastest, or I think they even kind of like dry rot. So, but the reason why they have it though is so that this guy has full range of movement, so he can raise his arms up, and this will bend with it. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't like this plastic. And what I do too is that I don't have room to display my Masters figures right now, because most of my display shelves are filled up with either Lego or Transformers. So these all just go into a bin, and I always I've been trying to be better about throwing my figures in a bin and putting them like in some sort of plastic baggie, but I don't just use like sandwich bags or anything like that. I try to find archival like scrapbooking bags because they're normally acid-free, and when you keep stuff in storage, you want to use acid-free bags because normal sandwich bags will degrade over time, and they sometimes react with the plastic, and then the figures can actually melt. So I use archival plastic, and at the same time, I don't completely like use bags where they can close it, because like some of the Mattel figures, these figures need to kind of air out because the fumes are reactive, and over time, figures get sticky because of that. So, I mean, even just storing figures is such a weird thing. Even keeping figures on the card, figures, everything just naturally will degrade over time. And, these kind of plastics, they degrade the fastest, these rubbery things. And I don't like that. One thing I didn't like about Ram Man 2 is that, as a kid, it's like, I liked the figure, but it always kind of weirded me out that he had these, he had these metal plates over his boobs. And the fact that they're like rounded out, it's almost like an opera singer kind of deal, like a female opera singer, and they always had their boobs covered with these metal plates. So I'm not sure if he's just trying to protect his man boobs with these things. And then okay, I'm like getting nuts right now. Okay, so let's go back to the figure. Okay, so articulation wise, this guy, his arms, you can rotate him up at the shoulders. His elbows can bend, and they also have elbow swivel. He has these pudgy hands, they're like with these fat sausage fingers, and they can rotate. It kind of bothers me too that, like I got into like Warhammer miniatures and like stuff like that the past year during the pandemic, and it bothers me that you get these. I'm not sure if you can see it in the light. You get these mold lines that protrude. It's like when the figures are cast, the molds don't completely meet, and then you kind of get this like line off center, and it kind of runs down his hand. It looks weird, and you can kind of see the mold lines too on his. You can't see it in the video too well because of the lighting, but there'll be a line across. So anytime you see a molded figure or just any molded accessory, and there's a line that splits it down the middle, and if the line's kind of extruding out, that's a mold line. And I don't know, I'm being anal right now. But first impressions, he looks great. Don't get me wrong. I think the only thing that bothers me is this friggin' rubbery shoulder piece. And since it's painted with silver paint, not that it's tacky, but there's like a very, very, like a hint of tackiness to it. Just a very small hint of it. Now, people might argue with me on that, but I don't know. I customize toys a lot, and I like working on silver paints, but I always notice that when silver paints work on certain figures, it gets weird and sticky. Yeah, weird and sticky. Okay, and let me show you something else, okay? So this is another custom figure I made. This is, it used to be a Hulkbuster figure. This is like when Hasbro was making before Marvel Legends, the 6-inch line, they were releasing Marvel Universe, and those are they were almost like 3 3/4 figures. And some of the movies, like Iron Man and Captain America, they released 3 3/4 figures for those, and this was the Hulk. the Hulkbuster. But I can't remember if this was from us. This might have been from the Avengers. Well, anyhow, this is a custom I made, and it represents the character 10 from the Transformer comics. And then this guy has his arms are made of a dense rubber plastic, similar to what this guy's arms are made of. And it's reactive to certain paints, like these gray areas. They actually feel really kind of tacky and sticky. And that's what this kind of reminds me of. Not that it's completely tacky, but you could kind of feel texture-wise there's something to it. And I worry about that kind of stuff because it's like I'm saying, this thing might degrade over time or even dry rot, and then they'll start cracking. Because even like hard plastics, that happens to them also. Like there's some Transformer figures right now where the last few years people are finding that the figure might only be like 2 or 3 years old, but there's certain parts that are made of the softer rubbery plastics where they're dry rotting out and they're actually cracking. And I think this could be the case with this guy. So even though he's fine now, give it a year or two and, check on your figure later, because I have a feeling of this figure, this thing's going to be the weird thing that's going to start flaking off or breaking. Alright, so coming back to this guy, with his legs, he has a swivel above his boot, and it's at the knee, which I find odd. Because they could have easily had it at the boot cut, because it's not like it's going to make a difference. And he has a spring-loaded feature. You push this down, and then he kind of springs up. So he's locked in place. Press it again, and he shoots up. It's a cool feature, and I remember I never had this figure as a kid. And we'll talk about that because we do have the OG Ram Man right here making guest appearance. So here we go, the comparison. So yeah, I never had this guy as a kid. I had friends who had him, and I think the only reason why I didn't have him is because it's not like I didn't like the character. I love the character. I remember him being in the cartoon. I mean, was he kind of like oafish or boorish? I can't remember everything, but I remember enjoying the character out in the cartoon. And then I saw the toy at a friend's house at a party. And he seemed cool, but it just seemed weird because he didn't seem like an action figure like the other ones. Because, all the other Masters figures, they all kind of share a similar body type. They're all bendable and, they all twist at the right places. But this guy was just like, his head didn't move, his arms just did this. And he felt very hollow. You put him down and then you flick this, then he has the same launching feature. And I don't know. I mean, visually he looks cool. And I like this guy a lot. To be honest, I like this guy a lot. I kind of wish I had him as a kid growing up. I didn't have him. But much later down the road, I did get him in some form, and I got this guy. This is the 2000X Ram Man. And people joke around about this guy because his face looks like the late actor John Candy. So it's kind of crazy. I think, I'm not sure if that was just a coincidence or if there was a designer or sculptor at Mattel that thought it'd be funny to make him look like John Candy as an homage to the late actor. But I can't remember if John Candy if he passed away by the time this line came out. And this one isn't the first release. I believe this is the repaint because he has the copper shoulder pads, which I actually like better. I did have the first release of this guy, but as I mentioned in a previous video, there was a certain point where I kind of purged some of my toys and I gave them to my little cousin. But I found this guy at some point in time and rebought him. And I do like the repaint because I like that it breaks up the color on them. And I just remember let's take these guys away for a second and let's go back on this guy. So this guy has some success. I'm losing my voice. All right, so this guy has some accessories. He has this extra hand with the sausage fingers, and I actually like that better than the fist because if you look at his hands, anyways, the opened up C grip is that it's, it's almost a fist as it is. So it seems kind of a waste to, to use the C grip. So I don't know. I mean, visually he looks cool. And I like this guy a lot. To be honest, I like this guy a lot. I kind of wish I had him as a kid growing up. I didn't have him. But much later down the road, I did get him in some form. And I think the only reason why I had him as a kid growing up is because he was like a give him the closed fist. So we pull it out and pop this one in. And the reason why I like the two fists is because he comes with two weapons, and it only makes sense to like double fist him. So this axe looks very close to you know, OG Ram Man had an axe and it looked like this one. And then he came with this axe. This one comes with this axe, which is cool. You can double fist that. But the cool thing about Ram Man is that if you wanted to, you can army build this guy because there's a masked version of him. So you can easily like outfit, you know, buy another one or two of these guys, give it just this axe, and then swap out the head with the armored head. And then boom, you instantly have this armored looking guard with the weird legs. But it's cool that they give you that option. I like the fact that he comes with a second head and he's like battle ready. It's almost kind of like in the Transformer movies how Bumblebee has his battle mask and it like flips down over and he's ready to like rumble. I feel dirty that I said ready to rumble. Okay. Like, you know, like some sort of cool phrase. It's not. I think I've seen people online post photos of this where they'll take the chest armor off and put it on other figures, but I don't know how that. I'm not sure if this is glued on or not. I don't want to risk it. Yeah, I saw someone online. They took this off and put it on another figure, and it looked kind of cool, but I think it's glued on. And I don't have another figure on me. I'm not sure if you could. I'm guessing, I mean, it said in instructions you could swap them with like another master's head. So if you wanted to give He-Man a stout body, you know, you could just throw this on him. Alright. So yeah, let's compare him to the OG one. So the OG one, this is not my childhood toy. As I said earlier, I didn't have a childhood Ram Man. And trying to find a decent Ram Man online is kind of, it's like headache inducing. I bought one previously, and the hardest thing with finding a decent Ram Man is that now since this figure was made of a harder plastic, you know, and most kids, you'd probably back in the 80s just threw these into a toy box or a bin or something or a drawer. Is that, you know, when this thing rubs up against other things, the plastic starts rubbing, and then you get paint scratches and stuff. So like this figure, it's, you know, most of the time his tits would be scratched off and his nose would be scratched off. And then I hate these things. I don't know why they bothered giving him these weird like aluminum stickers over his wrist guards, because so many so many He-Man figures didn't have them like painted wrist guards. And it looks half-assed because it covers this like half of the wrist, and then it's still, you can still see the molding at the top. It's stupid. And I really just want to paint over these, but these are actually the original stickers. And you could get repo stickers online. I've seen them, but I don't want to get them. And then, you know, back in, as you know, to be more cost effective, this guy just has a completely silver belt all around. Whereas this guy that, you know, with modern thinking is in the way things are, they could give him just the silver buckle and then paint the rest of the belt black. The greens are different. This one's a little bit more olive green. And this one's kind of like, I don't know, it has a hint of blue in it. It's a little bit more vibrant, the OG one. And I kind of like the OG green better. Their boots are the same. They have the studs on the side. But this guy's legs is just one, it's just it's like two pieces of plastic slapped together. It's just like a hollow shell. This guy has separate legs. They're broken apart. And I remember when as a kid, this kind of bothered me about the figure too, is that his legs were just stuck together like that. But it made sense because of the play feature. And if you ask me which play feature do I like better, do I like the button activation or the, you know, pressing it twice to like make them hop up? I'm tempted to say I kind of like the button activation better. I don't have this guy's axe on me. It's in a baggie somewhere. And let's bring the John Candy figure out. Now, I think out of all these, I like this one the best. Like I said, I love the 2000X line. It came out around the, you know, early 2000s, and it embodies everything I loved about action figures at the time. I'm not a big like articulation guy, because unless I think you're like playing with the toys or doing fig photography, you're not really serious about it. Articulation isn't as important to me as opposed to like just how a figure looks on a shelf. And I don't like super articulated figures because it, you know, cuts into the joints, and the figures, their aesthetics kind of broken up. So the 90s stuff was cool because they're more so display pieces, and it seemed like the articulation was always like a afterthought. But with these Masters of the Universe figures, you know, there's, besides being aimed at collectors, these also had a play value to the kids. So, you know, they had cool play features, and they're just really nice. Now this guy here, the way you spring load him, it's kind of like the OG one. He has like a little button here that activates. You press that, and it pops up. His face is cool. So like I said, it looks like John Candy. I just love the sculpting detail, and I think, so like I said, I think these were designed by the Four Horsemen studio. I always get them and Art Asylum mixed up for some reason. Art Asylum was another studio in the 90s that was kind of big. They always did very stylized action figures. And I want to say Art Asylum is now, I think they're Diamond Select. I could be wrong on that, because I know Art Asylum, they used to make the Star Trek stuff for Diamond Select. And at some point, I think they just became Diamond Select. And Diamond Select, they also make the Marvel Select action figures that you find like at the theme parks and at the Disney stores and at the FYEs. So this guy's my favorite of all the Ram-Mans. This, you could like put him in like you know, his stocky mode right now, and then he could like pretend to hold hands with like the new Ram-Man, and he can pretend that they're either like brothers who really love each other, or they're like a couple. And then this guy come along, he's even shorter. You can like have like a Ram-Man family. This is like modern Ram-Man family, and this is the little child, and they're walking him to school today. This actually looks like the mother. But it's cool. It's cool. You can make these two look like they're holding hands, and I dig that a lot. So yeah, this is Ram-Man. He's dope. I like everything. I mean, if you couldn't tell. But then again, I'm not going to review an action figure I don't like. But we'll get to that when I review Clamp Champ, if I eventually get him. Because I know I'm not going to like him, just because they released him too early. Because I wanted like Fake Horror and Buzz Off first. And like, was that one dude, Modulac, wrote a Modulac? And Leech. I wanted a Leech figure before we got Clamp Champ. So yeah, this is Ram-Man. Get him. Good luck finding him. And I hope you don't pay too much for him. I didn't pay a lot for him, so, I mean, I paid over retail, but it was enough where it's like, it was justifiable, because for me, I told myself in my head, I think Ram-Man's the one that's going to bookend my collection of Origin figures right now. I don't have a complete set. I don't have a desire to have a complete set. I just wanted the characters I was fondest of as a child, or all the characters that I had as in the 2000 X line. So, we'll see. So, yep. Thanks for checking this out, and I will talk to you later. Later.